That was Justin Bieber with What Do You Mean? Kicking off the show once again this week. We are back for Jason's Sports Rundown here on phoenixradio.com.au. Just a reminder of the show and how it works. For those tuning in for the very first time, myself, Jason, I'll be talking to you guys from 1 to 3 p.m, keeping you up to date, informed, and involved on all that's happening around the sporting world. Plus, keeping you up to date with your news, and weather going all around from Ipswich, Springfield, up and even into Toowoomba, making them informed just as much as we are. A number of sporting news to quickly go over from the last few days and over the last night. Gold Coast preparing for what is another huge event on their calendar each and every year. It's the Gold Coast 500, Supercars' first finals event as well. So it's going to be a massive weekend down on the Gold Coast for those in and around that area this weekend. It's going to be huge, everything happening down there at the moment. The big one NRL-wise this week has been Jonah Pezzett signing for the Eels for 2026 and the Broncos for 2027. A bit of a deal that we just haven't quite seen, probably maybe ever that I can think back to, but definitely not in recent time have we seen a deal like this. It's definitely going to be interesting, both on the Eels part, the Storm part, and the Broncos part as well. Maybe that's the Adam Reynolds successor after he retires. And the NBA season has kicked off once again. The 25-26 campaign is underway. So all that is happening in the NBA, and the games have been getting underway the last couple of days. And we're seeing a lot of stars out this year, but nonetheless, you're seeing a lot of superstars performing out there at the moment. And it's quite nice to have another American sports kick off their season with the NFL already in season at the moment. A couple of the main topics on the show for today. We'll check in to see what Lachlan's got for us this week with his weekly report. We'll be talking about the Brisbane Roar round number 1 review. We'll be reviewing their first game in the A-League season under their new coach. We'll be looking at the matchups for week 8 in the NFL. A number of them are looking pretty exciting this week, with a few teams as well starting to get into their bye rounds as well early into the season. And we'll be going on to F1 later in the show. Mexico GP is this weekend, so we'll be talking all things Mexico GP F1 Drivers' Championship. There's a lot going on there, so make sure you stay tuned for that. We'll have a lot more else on the show, more sport news, music, and everything you could ever want. Coming up soon, we are going to start with a big one. We're going to be going to the weekly interview segment on this show. Stick around for that. It's definitely a guest that I'm sure you guys all going to want to hear from, but make sure you do stay around for that. But right now, you've got Bannerama with Venus. That was Dynamite by Teo Cruz. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. And we're going to get into your news and weather update for this week. Taking a look at the weather firstly. And in Springfield, it's partly cloudy with a low of 17 and a high of 36. Slight chance of a shower in the afternoon and the evening. Chance of thunderstorm in the afternoon and evening as well. The chance of smoke haze inland in the late afternoon and evening as well. In Ipswich, it is a low of 16 and high of 37. Slight chance of showers in the afternoon and evening as well. Also a chance of thunderstorm in your afternoon and evening in Ipswich. And for Toowoomba, mostly sunny with a low of 17 and a high of 34. Slight chance of a shower in the far east, near zero chance elsewhere, though. The chance for thunderstorm in the afternoon and the evening is still present, and the smoke haze in the late afternoon and evening also present in Toowoomba, mainly in the east, winds northwest, southwest, 15 to 20 kilometres, tending south to southwest in the early afternoon. Now into the news. Millions in the firing line of a record-breaking heat. An intense heat wave is bearing down on Queensland today as authorities warn residents to prepare for an increased fire danger. The Bureau of Meteorology say a very hot air mass is moving across much of the state and will linger over the large area from tomorrow. Extreme and severe heat waves warning stretch from the state's northwest corner to southeast corner and have been issued by the Bureau. They come after an outback town of Birdsville in southwest Queensland record its hottest day on October on Tuesday, with mercury spiked at a blistering 46 degrees. Queensland's First Nations Council gains direct access to state cabinet through historic accord. Queensland's 17 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Council now has direct channel to a state's cabinet, a move Indigenous leaders say could deliver more tangible outcomes than the 1992 Mabo land rights decision. The accord comes after the 2023 federal referendum in which 68% of Queenslanders voted against the proposed voice to Parliament, leaving Indigenous communities without a constitutional enshrined advisory body. The Indigenous Council Leaders Accord, signed by the Crucifeli government at the Local Government Association of Queensland Conference, gives First Nation mayors and councillors a formal process to advise ministers on pressing issues such as housing, water, access, sewage treatment, and job creation. And finally, Japan's parliament elects Sane Takaichi as the nation's first female prime minister. The Liberal Democrat Party president was elected prime minister by parliament on Tuesday, shattering Japan's glass ceiling to become the country's first female leader. Avoided a runoff by rolling to victory in first round of voting in the lower house, gathering 237 votes against the Democratic Party of Japan leader Yoshihiko Noda, 149. In the world of male-dominated politics, she has broken through an incredible tough glass ceiling. Women make up just 16% of the lower house seats in Parliament, known as the Diet, and Japan routinely rank as one of the worst countries for gender equality. She almost did secure the job last year during a leadership ballot of the LDP, but was considered too conservative for mainstream voters. So that is your news and weather for today. Coming up soon, we'll have the interview that we have each and every week, so stay tuned for that one. But right now, you've got Troye Sivan with Wild. That was Bruno Mars with Just the Way You Are. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown. And I mentioned it earlier in the show, but the Supercars is down in the Gold Coast this weekend. For the Gold Coast 500. It also happens to be the first of what has become a new thing for Supercars, their own final series. It's quite a lot like the NASCAR series, for those who are familiar with that. And it will be very interesting to see a Supercars champion crowned in this type of way, when we've been very used to the person who ends up with the most points by the end of the season across every single race ends up being the champion. It's now going to have a staggered elimination across into the Gold Coast, into Sandown, and then into Adelaide, which will aim as the grand final event for Supercars this year. So it definitely puts a lot of pressure on the top drivers to perform in these last three rounds. And with the way we had between the Sprint Cup, which was all the sprint races up into the season, and then into what was now the Enduro Cup, it definitely has started to shake the way that the competition is going to face. And I think the shift from the success that Feeney had through all the rounds and then down into the Bend, at the 500 at the Bend, and then into the Bathurst 1000, you saw that anything can happen in those Enduros. And while these next few rounds are still 500s, they're not the same setup as what we have at Bathurst. There is every chance that things go wrong. You know, they're pretty long races, so it does open the door for some of these guys who have just fringed into the 10 to actually have a real shot to be able to make it all the way and become a Supercars champion. So the likes of Payne, who won the Enduro Cup and is now second in the championship ahead of even Will Brown, who's had a really unbelievable this year, the Toowoomba kid, it definitely opens the door for these guys like Matt Payne and that, who have done well in the Enduro Cup, to have 3 good rounds here and maybe walk away with the championship. I think definitely, if you think about it this year, I think a lot of people can maybe agree that Brock Feeney's probably the most deserving winner if you've gone to date. But with the final series, that is something that we may lose track of, to see people in the final series like that. So it definitely will shape up the competition for sure, and really leave us kind of with a bit of a different feel to what Supercars is. It's going to feel a lot like what NASCAR has, with how similar that the two final series really are. But very exciting to see what the Supercars will have for us this week and at Gold Coast. We know how big the event is for the Gold Coast and for Queensland. Seeing it in a street circuit in the Gold Coast, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys at home have probably driven on the same places that these guys get to drive at. So it's pretty crazy to see, and the feel around the Gold Coast. If you ever are down at the Gold Coast, even like a couple of weeks before the 500, you'll really see that they get into it so much. So it's really cool, and it's crazy to sometimes think that we've had years where they don't go down to the Gold Coast, and you think, it's so cool to see all these Queensland tracks on the calendar. We go to Townsville, it's one of the better races of the year. We went back to Ipswich this year, and Gold Coast is being a staple, so it's really super cool to see how much Supercars is growing in Queensland, and the more, I guess, respect that it's gotten in Queensland, and this year particularly, I think has definitely grown, and it's definitely helped having a couple of Queenslanders towards the top of the championship leader in Will Brown and Brock Feeney. So really, really cool to see. Coming up soon, we're going to be talking NFL. That's always going to be exciting for us. A lot of great matchups to preview and talk about, so stay tuned for that one. But right now, you've got Florence and the Machine with My Love. That was Rockstar by Post Malone. You're listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown. The time is 1:33 p.m. We're talking about the NFL, and why not bring a few guests to help us preview the games this week. We got Lachlan and Harrison joining us. So the first matchup, we got the Vikings and Chargers at SoFi Stadium. What do you guys think about that one?
There's a couple games this week that jump out to me for all the wrong reasons. Chargers, Vikings, both of those offenses have been struggling, to say the least. It's going to be definitely a close game, especially at SoFi. There's going to be plenty of Vikings fans there because every Chargers home game is basically a default away game for whoever they play. But
before relocating to Vegas, the Vikings were based there, right?
No. You're thinking Raiders. Vikings are Minnesota. Yeah.
Look, Justin Herbert, it all comes off the back of him for the Chargers. I mean, Carson Wentz is the quarterback for Minnesota. The Vikings won't get the ball rolling. They're going to rely on Justin Jefferson as always. Aaron Jones, he's still injured. So, look, very...
They're going to have to rely on him, but they don't have the running game. They're not going to get the running game moving. And that's what happened last week against Go Birds, against the Eagles, the Eagles defense, when they're on, man. And, I think it's the Vikings right now. I'm going to give them the nod. Yes, they've got a lot of problems going right now, but Justin Herbert is the lone wolf for the Chargers. He can't do it all himself.
No.
The Vikings have the slight nod defensively, I think.
You reckon?
I think the Vikings are going to get this one.
I'm going to oppose you. The Chargers 4-3. It's going to be 5-3, and it's going to be a nice game Friday morning, Australian time.
What do you guys feel about the Dolphins Falcons? I know
we were talking about this just before. I'm be polite.
Yeah, the Dolphins haven't exactly had the world's best start to the season.
I'm a huge Dolphins fan.
I'm shocked. Well, we can start here. I'm shocked Mike McDaniel still is going to be making the play calls this weekend, because I thought for sure he was going to get sacked, Ange Postecoglou style, in the tunnel. But I think right now the Dolphins are just the Dolphins. They are.
Here's my tip. They win it this week. They turn the season around this week. I know that's a bold call. Very bold. Mike McDaniel will last it out to the end of the year. They've done very well. They've done well the past few years. They've done well.
My prediction, Bijan Robinson runs for 200 yards. Yeah. Falcons by 21.5.
Look, is that your tip? Is that your pick,
bro? They're gonna come. They're in Atlanta. It's the Benz is a hard place to come and get a win for anyone, right? Let alone the Dolphins, dude. The Dolphins, they're 1-6 for a reason. But
Tua.
Okay, another prediction. Tua's going to get his 35,000th concussion of his career this weekend.
It's paying $1.10. You know, you could probably jump on that market and it'd probably be a safe bet. But look, Tua was benched last week. I mean, a rookie took his spot. I'm surprised Tua's starting this week.
Quinn Ewers, I think. It's a mistake not to start him this week because we saw it. He could ball out in Texas in the SEC. He balled out week after week after week, and he showed it because he was starting over Arch Manning, and Arch Manning had all the talk there at Texas. He still does, right? So Quinn Ewers is used to being the guy who's less talked about. You know, the talk is about Tua. Talk Tua. But, you know, they're I'm so sorry for that. The talk is on Tua, so you know that for a fact Quinn Ewers wants to come in, he wants to make a name for himself, and he wants to prove everyone wrong.
My thing about Arch Manning, if it's Arch Moore doesn't get a start for Texas, but you know, it's Arch Manning. It's a big name. He's getting the start for Texas. How is Texas going at the moment? I haven't been following my college. He's been slow. He's been slow.
They're doing about as well as Penn State. Next game, I believe we have Bears and Ravens, right?
Yeah. But I jump on this game. I think's interesting. Bengals Jets. What do you think about that one?
Jamar Chase is gonna. I mean, Jamar Chase and Sauce Gardner is going to be a tremendous matchup. They always is when they go after each other. It's one of the best receivers versus one of the best man-up corners in the league.
Yeah. 100%.
It's going to be a matchup to watch. The rest of the game. Okay, it'll be a game, but you know, I think there's going to be a lot of those this week, and a lot of teams that have a lot to prove coming into this weekend are getting the chance to play each other, and I think that this is actually going to be the weekend that for a lot of teams are going to basically predict the rest of their season. You know, there's a couple teams coming into this weekend. The Bengals are one of them, right? They're in a tough division, but right now they've got 3 struggling teams in that division. Pittsburgh is arguably the best out of all of them. The Ravens are 1-5. They are a basket case right now.
And that's terrible. And well, Lamar Jackson's probably back this week for the Ravens. But back to the Jets. We should talk about Cincinnati. Joe Flacco.
Baller.
Yeah, he's killing
it. Joe Cool is turning back the clock, and I guarantee every year, whenever he starts against the Ravens, he always balls out because he is not stoked with the way that things ended for him in Baltimore. I grew up outside of, y'all, a lot of y'all know I'm an Eagles fan, diehard Eagles fan. What y'all don't know is I grew up in a diehard Ravens household outside of Baltimore.
How are you still here?
I know. But Flacco, the way that they did him dirty, man, he was a franchise quarterback. He brought them a bowl, and then they just future endeavored him for a rookie quarterback. You know,
how many times have we seen franchises, you know, pick up a first rounder quarterback and throw him to the curb? Baker Mayfield, prime example, killing it.
The difference is that Flacco and Lamar Jackson are like comparing apples to screwdrivers. Like Lamar Jackson, they don't play the same style of ball. You know, Flacco is your typical pocket passer, which is why he's fitting so well with this offense right now in Cincinnati. And I think Flacco's going to do it again. Flacco's going to get the W for the Bengals.
Yeah, look at an 0-8 Jets team. That looks so sad.
They need Rex Ryan back ASAP.
If you're a Jets sponsor, you're leaving. You're out the door.
All right, we'll end on one last game. I think this one you'll like.
This is the game of the week.
Eagles Giants.
It's the game
Jackson Dart versus Jalen Hurts.
Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, who
what a name.
Had his coming out party against Philadelphia. I hate the Giants with a burning passion. There are not many teams on this planet I dislike more. The Dallas Cowboys are the number one, but the New York Giants earned my respect this year. They turned back to school. If you look at when the Giants were at their best in the 2000s, they were a hard-nosed football team. They had Michael Strahan. They had Tiki Barber. You know, this team has always been a punch-you-in-your-mouth team when they've been at their most successful. They're back to that right now. Jackson Dart is balling, but right now, it's give it to the CTE king himself, Cam Scatterboo.
Giants win.
Give him the ball. Now, I don't know because we're back at the link, right?
Man, Jalen Hurts isn't using these wide receivers.
AJ Brown had 2 touchdowns last weekend.
Yeah, but prior to last week, it's like AJ Brown has been.
They have Saquon Barkley though. Here's the problem, right? Everyone talks about how AJ Brown's not touching the ball. AJ Brown's not touching the ball. When you have AJ Brown as your wide receiver in any team in this league, he is your number one guy. He is your only weapon. When he came from Tennessee, he was the guy, right? He's come into a team with Devontae Smith. He's come into a team with Dallas Goedert. He's come into a team with even the 3 and 4 receivers are starters and top 3 receivers in any other team in the league. And then you've got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. There's too many weapons for this team to deal with. I think that they went in to a tough game on the road. The Giants showed them a lot that game. I believe that coming back to the Link, it's going to be a much different feel, especially after getting that dub. Giants fans really felt themselves really good after that W, and they should have, right? It was a big win. Coming into the Link, it's going to be a different story. Eagles by 14.
They were brought back down to earth, Giants fans, last week.
They were, and Eagles fans were brought down to earth when we lost to the Giants, and we showed them when we're firing. 100%. It's a redemption arc. This is a team, a Philadelphia Eagles team that has all the weapons, and now they've got the motivation to do it. Eagles by 14.
Yeah, it will be an interesting game. Thank you guys for coming on, adding value to the NFL discussion. Coming up soon, we're going to be talking about the Brisbane Roar, but the song up next is In Your Eyes by The Weeknd and Doja Cat. That was Better Be Home Soon by Crowded House. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason Sports Rundown, and the time is 1:50 p.m. It's time to get into the Brisbane Roar round 1 review before we get into the second hour of the show. It kind of feels crazy that we're reaching that point already in the in the show. And if you did miss last segment, us talking all about NFL, make sure you guys check that one out later. That was a very enthralling discussion with our special guests Lachlan and Harrison about what they feel, and definitely some opinions raised here and there. But some big moments in the Brisbane Roar match would have been the penalty goal in the 37th minute mark. I mean, it was a 1-0 match, a very tight, it was a brutal game. It's probably everything you expected it to be. Nonetheless, definitely really exciting for that. Lots of fouls, an aggressive style of play from both sides. Very physical game too. I mean, you kind of expect it in the A-League. It does seem to have that type of presence to it, but it was even more than what you could probably expect. MacArthur finished with 64.4% possession, so they definitely had the favour of the possession, but maybe I don't think in the final third executed probably as well as Brisbane did, particularly before in the 58th minute mark when they went down to 10 men with Valkanis getting his second yellow card and being sent off. Definitely that was a turning point, kind of really, I think, changed for the Roar, and they really flipped their play style from there. So we'll definitely take they'll take definitely something different from the Roar nonetheless there. But take a listen to some of the big moments from the game and some very interesting thoughts that Michael Valkanis himself made post-match. We'll start off with the awarded penalty kick.
Now this is the cleverly worked set piece. Is that a handball? Adam Kersey points to the spot, and the veteran Luke Bratton has conceded a penalty kick.
And we'll shift it into it. The only goal of the game coming in favour of the captain, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay O'Shea.
And he's looking to put the Roar in front here. There's his penalty map, just the one into the crossbar. Otherwise, a very good strike rate. Can Philip Curto come up with the stop and keep MacArthur level? It's O'Shea for the Roar. And it's the Roar in front. Brisbane fans are smiling and jumping in the stands as Jay O'Shea gets the 25-26 season off to a perfect start. Brisbane 1, MacArthur 0.
We'll now shift it to post-match. Very interesting, I think, to hear what Michael Valkanis said. I think he's somebody that I think a lot of you, really, the words that he speaks seems to speak huge volume, and he seems to have a really good insight. So he's firstly asked what he made of the match as a whole.
It was always going to be a difficult task, especially that they're a team that are very good at getting crosses and long balls into the box, and they've got tall timber up front. So going down to 10 men sort of wrecked our plan B moving forwards, and we had to adjust very quickly. And I thought the team really dealt with the situation really well. And what they showed today is what we've been talking about, that over the last 3 or 4 months with let's say 10, 11, 12 players, new players that have come into the squad with the existing players, you can see the togetherness and the willingness to fight for the vision that we believe in. So in the end, they've given everything, and that's what we ask, that every game they give everything and they find a way to win. And it was one of those situations today which becomes very difficult when you're playing football and you go down to 10 men, you're playing against a good team, that you've got to roll up the sleeves and fight it out and make sure we get the 3 points, because that's what football's about.
Yeah, really, I think it speaks volume to the way the Raw are going to go about each and every game, and it really does show kind of a new life for Brisbane Raw. I think it's really exciting to hear. He was asked further about how he felt his defenders played, and a little bit also about how sometimes defenders get forgotten about.
Even when Lucas came on as well, I thought, and the midfielders, they worked really hard to make sure that they stop as many balls possible getting into the box. But sometimes in this country, we forget that defending is part of the game. And I've realised that in the curriculum, we've long forgotten about developing defenders, and sometimes when you need to defend deep and defend the box and defend your area without conceding goals, I think it's part of football, and you win games being able to do that. And I thought we were quite good in the first half in terms of the plan that we had to be a little bit more direct to get them in behind, and then when we had to play, we played. But the way the game went, we also showed that we've done a lot of work in being able to defend these situations. It's not something that it's not part of the game, it's part of the game. It's part of the 4 moments of the game, defending.
Yeah, it really speaks to volume that sometimes how much defenders get forgotten, and also the job of the Raw's defence was unreal all night. For the entire game, they really were unbelievable, and probably won't even get the recognition that they probably deserved out of that first game. And then lastly, Valkanis spoke on the new intensity that Brisbane Raw is bringing this season. It was we mentioned it last week, or he did himself and talking to Lachlan last week, but he seemed to mention it again, and it seems like it's going to be a returning theme for this new Brisbane Raw, their new intensity for this year.
I think during pre-season we've sort of laid down that marker, and teams have realised that we're not just going to turn up and participate and be happy to lose. And that's what they showed tonight. And we've been doing that, like I said, all pre-season. Teams will know that we mean business, and we're not going to lay down. And like I said from the very beginning, we've said if we're going to play, we can play. If we have to defend, we're going to defend. If we have to fight to win a game like we did today, roll up the sleeves, we're going to have to do it. And we did it. Anytime, anywhere, anyone, find a way. And these boys believe that. And I know it's early on. It's very early, and we're going to get tested, and there's a long way to go in the A-League. But having experienced the A-League, you need to win games like this.
Yeah, Brisbane Raw's new intensity is something to be really excited about. And I think from everything I've seen online post-match, the belief in Brisbane Raw, I think, is definitely at one of its highest. I mean, I myself, was back there watching grand finals at Suncorp when they were winning, back in the old days, it feels like now a little bit, but it is crazy. And I think the belief of Brisbane Raw as a team and that they can be the next team in what has been a hugely successful year for Queensland and Brisbane sporting teams, I think they could very well do and have a real good run at the A-League this year. Coming up soon, we're going to see what Lachlan's got for us this week. I'm sure, like every week, it's going to be very, very interesting, so make sure you don't miss that one. But right now, you've got Max Jackson with Fixin' Things. That was Counting Stars by One Republic. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown, and the time is 2:04 p.m. We're into the second hour, and we're going to start off with what we've got in store this week for Lachlan's weekly report. And just to give a bit of information all about it, the fitness world has always been full of new trends and fades. Recently, the newest fade on the forefront of medical journals has been the use of infrared waves for the use of recovery. Scientists around the world have been discussing the recovery benefits, and in a recent study by a Swedish winter sport institute has discovered that The combined use of the two in recovery can boost performance by upwards of 5%, which in the world of hyper athletes and high performance sports can be the difference between winning and losing. Our very own Lachlan Eels set off to find about the new craze in the world of athletics and recovery.
While both not necessarily new ideas in the world of fitness, infrared sauna and lymphatic drainage combined might, however, be the new big thing when it comes to athletes and their recovery. Recently, I saw an Instagram post about infrared sauna and the benefits of it. And then I saw another one and another one and another one. So my curiosity, it piqued. I did some research and what I found was stunning to say the least. Not only did I find numerous articles on the subject, I also found numerous articles linking it to athletic performance and its benefits specifically for recovery. And in those articles, I was noticing a repeat phrase a lot. It was MLD, manual lymphatic drainage. And research is showing that the combination of these two things, the infrared sauna and the lymphatic drainage, is providing incredible performance benefits for athletes, specifically in their recovery. Now, there was a lot of big words I didn't necessarily understand and a lot of information that I wanted to find out. And my research took me to Bruna Bautista, who's an expert in the subject and has a clinic in Chermside that specializes in this form of recovery. So I headed down there myself to find out everything I wanted to know.
So our studio has a whole 360 experience for anyone really, because everyone has some sort of pain, and when I say pain, it's not necessarily painful, but it's a pain. Let's say I don't like my belly, or I don't like the way I look, I don't have energy. And the way this works is we have machines here, fitness machines, so we have treadmill with vacuum therapy and infrared to help you to start moving your body. And we know lymphatic system doesn't work by itself. You need to stimulate. The quickest way to stimulate is the exercise. So maybe you start exercising, so you do a vacuum therm or a bike session. After that, you go to a roller and you work in a more profound way to detoxify your body. Everyone needs some certain level of detox, no matter how healthy they eat or what they do. They have toxins in their body they need to get rid of. So you go to lymphatic massage roller, do a session, try to get rid of those toxins, also working in repairing muscle in a cellular level. The recovery aspect of our studio it's huge. Like it's 50% what we do is recovery. And for non-professional athletes, more importantly, because they don't have that support from a club, from a team, they need to source themselves. So the body roller really helps with the muscle tissue recovery and also our fascia, because after a game you get really tight, and it's usually the fascia getting super tight on the side of your legs, and the buildup of lactic acid. The roller itself doesn't eliminate the lactic acid, but helps to rebuild the muscles. So it helps to break down the muscle tissue, and then when you're sleeping, it just rebuild that much easier. And then you have the infrared sauna, which does help with lactic acid, help your body to process that better, eliminate and detoxify, because your cortisol levels are very high after a game. You put a lot of stress in your body, so you need to lower that in order to recover properly, otherwise you ended up having an injury. So as an injury prevention tool, it's crucial. So you're doing really 1 hour here, but it's working on your system for 3 days. One conventional, like especially the contrast therapy, you go on the ice and then you go hot. They're very short, so you feel really good because your adrenaline just go up, but in terms of repairing your muscles, it's not as efficient. In fact, that you can even lose muscle mass doing that very often.
Well, thank you, Lachlan. Another insightful report and interview you've had for us this week. And I hope I'm sure me and the listeners can't wait to hear what you might have in store for us next week. Coming up soon, we're going to be talking about F1 and we're going to be previewing the Mexico GP. It is surely going to be one of the better races of this season. Everything is happening. Rookies in the car. A championship battle that might go down in history. So stay tuned for that. But right now, you've got 21 pilots with level of concern. That was Feel Good Inc. by Goriza and Del La Soul. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown, and the time is 2:19 p.m. It's time to get into F1 for another week, and this week we're looking at what is in store for the Mexican GP, and there is a lot to talk about with this race this weekend. It is definitely going to be one to watch, and one that will be very exciting to really see what's in store. So starting off with the schedule, and I'll put these ones as well as we can in Australian Eastern Standard Time. So for those not in Queensland, it will very likely be maybe an hour or so different for you guys. But starting off with practice number 1, this is back to a normal weekend format with practice 1 through to 3, qualifying, and then the race. So practice 1, Saturday, 4:30 to 5:30 a.m. I think this will be actually a well worth session to watch, at least for those interested in the up-and-coming future of F1, as a number of drivers will be stepping in for FP1 sessions as part of the rookie FP1 session mandates that have to happen, where each driver has to step out of the car twice across the year. That obviously has some exceptions to drivers who have raced under 3 times, do count towards that. For people like Hadjar and Antonelli and Bortoleto already not needing to sit out at all this year, but for other drivers and each team have a vary from 1, 2, 3, 4 times they have to put rookies in the car, and there will be a number of them that will be in that car for that session, so definitely be a session to check out. All the main drivers back in practice 2, 8 to 9 a.m., with practice 3 taking place on Sunday at 3:30 to 4:30 a.m. Qualifying will be bright and early on Sunday morning at 7 a.m. and it will be going through till 8 a.m. And then race day will be on Monday morning. Once again, another Monday race for us here in Australia. It will be at 6 a.m. race start. With a regular duration, we could be seeing the roundup of the race ending about 7:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. So those up and early, ready to go at it again. Another Monday morning of F1 action. And now let's take a few points from last week and touch on them. So McLaren's tough sprint last week in USA in COTA. DNF from both cars with a collision that was not completely what we've seen in the past, with Norris crashing into Piastri, or even week before where Norris and Piastri made slight contact. It was definitely tough for McLaren, and it was a hard weekend in allness for them. So yeah, massive loss for them in the sprint race. And Oscar Piastri overall, tough weekend for him, finishing in P5. He really lost a massive gain, not only to Norris, but to Piastri. And it's really a very three-way fight at the top now. Piastri had the leg up for a lot of the year. Or at least for a number of races now, but it definitely isn't that way anymore. Ferrari had a good weekend. Charles Leclerc finishing 3rd on the podium and Lewis Hamilton in 4th. That's one of their better results all year, so up the Ferrari fans and the Tifosi. It was an incredible weekend for them. And yeah, Max drew closer in the championship. He's only about 40 points behind Oscar. Lando's only about 12-ish behind Oscar as well, so the entire championship could change in Mexico, and it could continue to make that lead just a bit shorter from Oscar. And I think it really leans up to Mexico being an exciting round. And I think I've said it a lot. I mean, I'm deep down to heart, I'm a Ferrari fan, always have been, always will be. But obviously, Oscar being Australian, that brings something out in us. I know a lot of us, Australians, are always very patriotic about the country, but also the sport and the stars that we have. So I want nothing more than Oscar Piastri to win the World Championship. And I really feel that this is the weekend for him. I feel that if he is able to go out and win in Mexico, it will do him the world of good. Winning in Mexico, even if he doesn't do it from pole, I think it'd be huge. But a pole and a win would be huge for him in Mexico. And speaking about the FP1 sessions and the rookies earlier, so a number of drivers are going to be stepping out, so I'll run you through the list, and it seems like it's been gaining every day, so there's every chance that maybe there's another one announced before it gets to the weekend or into tomorrow. So firstly, the rookie Lindblad is going to be in the car of Max Verstappen, so Verstappen will be stepping out, and that'll be very interesting to see how Lindblad compares to Yuki Tsunoda. You'll have Anthony Foucault, second time in a Ferrari. He'll be in for the 7-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton. Over from IndyCar, Pato O'Ward will be in Lando Norris's car for FP1 session. Always the Mexican legend, always seems to make an appearance there. Rio Hirakawa will be in Ollie Behrman's car for FP1 session. Another time for him in an FP1 session this year. He's definitely got around. Luke Browning, the young Williams Driver Academy star, is in for Carlos Sainz in FP1. Jay Crawford is making his FP1 Formula One debut, as he'll be standing in for Lance Stroll in FP1. Fred Vesti, no stranger to FP1 sessions. He's back in the car, and he'll be in place of George Russell. And Paul Aron, the reserve driver of Alpine, will be taking the place of Gasly in FP1 in the FP1 session. So a number of drivers will be stepped out, and the FP1 results will definitely look a tad bit different to what we've seen. So definitely interesting to see how these guys stack up, how these 7-8 guys are going to stack up against some of the seasoned veterans and the other drivers across the field, and it'll be very interesting to see if you can see one of them maybe make it up the leaderboard. Coming up soon, we're going to be talking about the ARIA charts, and we're going to be looking at the best 5 albums on the current charts and the best 5 singles. Last week it was all about Taylor Swift. We'll see if that is still the case this week. But right now you've got Eiffel 65 and Flume with Blue. That was Purple Rain by Prince and the Revolution. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au, and this is Jason's Sports Rundown. The time is 2:32 p.m. and let's get into it once again with the ARIA charts, the official record of the hottest singles and albums in Australia. And every week we'll take a look at the top 5 singles and albums on the chart. And as I mentioned before we headed to the last break, that last week was really heavily dominated by the one and the only Taylor Swift, and we'll see whether there's really any change to that or not, with her having the number 1 album and 5 of her songs on her new album all in the top 5. So we'll see if there's really any change to what we saw last week or not. So we'll start with the albums. At number 5, it's its first week in the charts, and straight in at number 5, it's Pete Murray with The Longing. At number 4 this week, it was previously still at number 4 last week, and it has worked up its way in the charts all the way to previously number 1. 7 weeks in the charts. It's Sabrina Carpenter with Man's Best Friend. Number 3 in the charts, its 3rd week in the charts. It remains at number 3 for another week, and like Sabrina Carpenter's Man's Best Friend, this album has also been previously a number 1 album in the charts. That is Olivia Dean with The Art of Loving. Last week, it was number 2, and it hasn't changed from there. It's previously been a number 1 album as well, and it's 17th week in the charts in the ARIA charts. That's K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack, which has definitely grown in support each and every week. The number 1 album this week on the ARIA charts. Its 2nd week in the charts, peaked at number 1, and last week it was also number 1, and it has not changed. It's Taylor Swift with The Life of a Showgirl. So Taylor Swift remains the number 1 album 2 weeks in a row. So that's some type of achievement, and we'll see how long that run can keep going, because it is very difficult, particularly on the ARIA charts, to maintain a number 1 album for a number of weeks, particularly when you see another big album drop. It just rises all the way up. Nonetheless, we'll move on to the top 5 singles. We'll give you a bit of a preview of each and every of these songs, and it might be the first time some of you guys might have heard some of these songs, but nonetheless, there'll be definitely some ones you'll know the words to. So starting off at number 5, last week it was number 3. It's peaked at number 3, so it has moved down a few spots, and it's second week in the charts. It's Taylor Swift, Elizabeth Taylor. Number 4 on the ARIA charts this week for the singles. It's 9 weeks in the chart. It's previously been as high as number 2. And last week it sat at number 14. So we do have a new song coming into the top 4 this week. It's by Olivia Dean, and it's called Man I Need Be. And now on to number 3, it was previously number 13th best song on the ARIA charts, and it has been the number 1 song before. It's been 16 weeks in the charts straight, and this one is by Demon Hunters. It's called Golden. And now we reach to number 2. It is previously number 2 song on the charts. It's been as high as 2, so it has been very solid in there, and it's second week in the charts, so it's all 2, 2, and 2. This one's by Taylor Swift, and it's called Opalite. And now on to the number 1 single on the ARIA charts this week. 2 weeks in the charts. It stayed at number 1 from last week, so you might remember what it is. Peaking at number 1. This one is by Taylor Swift as well, and it's The Fate of Ophelia. That was the top 5 singles and albums on the ARIA charts this week. We'll take a look once again next week to see what changes have been made, and we definitely saw a few changes this week, particularly in the singles. It's not all Taylor Swift this week. Coming up soon, we'll be doing the final segment of the show this week, and that is the Premier League match week review, and we'll be doing the match week number 8 review this week. But right now you've got Guy Sebastian, Australia's very own, with Only Thing Missing. That was Stevie Wonder with Superstition. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown, and the time is 2:45 p.m. and this is your Premier League Match Week 8 review. So let's take a look at the results and the current table of this week after Match Week 8 has been completed. The results in Match Week 8, Chelsea 3, Nottingham Forest 0. Ange is gone as well, so definitely not all up Australia in that one. Brighton 2-1 over Newcastle, Burnley 2-0 over Leeds, Crystal Palace 3-3 with Bournemouth, Man City 2-0 over Everton, Sunderland 2-0 over Wolves, Arsenal 1-0 over Fulham, Aston Villa 2-1 over Spurs, Man United 2-1 over Liverpool, Brentford 2-0 over West Ham. That really shakes up the ladder, particularly with Liverpool's loss. Arsenal first, 19 points. Man City second with 16 points. Bournemouth third with 15 points, and Liverpool fourth with 15 points. Chelsea fifth with 14 points, Spurs sixth with 14 points, Sunderland seventh with 14 points, and then Crystal Palace 13 points in eighth. Man United on 13 points in ninth. You have Brighton on 12 points in 10th, Aston Villa in 11th on 12 points. 12th for Everton with 11 points, and Brentford 13th with 10 points. Newcastle are in 14th with 9 points, and Fulham 8 points in 15th. Leeds are 16th with 8 points, and Burnley 7 points in 17th. The bottom three, 18th is Nottingham Forest now with 5 points, West Ham with 4 in 19th, and Wolves still 20th with 2 points. Not looking good for those bottom three teams. Coming up soon, I'll be concluding the show for you for today, the 23rd of October, but right now you'll have Beanie with Snail. That was Cosby Sweater by Hilltop Hoods. You are listening to phoenixradio.com.au. This is Jason's Sports Rundown, and the time is 2:54 p.m, so it's time to conclude the show for this week and for this afternoon. Thank you guys for joining me today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. We had so much on it, and I hope you guys really did enjoy it. Stay tuned for next week's show. We'll have even more sports news, info, discussions to keep you up to date, informed, your news, news, music, and weather as well. So see you guys next week. And if you did miss any part of the show today and you want to listen to it back, listen to it at the Jason Sports Rundown on YouTube and coming on into Spotify as well in the coming weeks as well. So stay tuned. And if you did miss a part and want to, once again, you can listen to it on the podcast. But for now, enjoy the rest of your Thursday and into your weekend, and have a good weekend. And for those at the Gold Coast 500, I hope it is a wonderful weekend for you guys. The song taking you guys out today is by Noah Khan, and it's Homesick.